You're listening to JetNation Radio, the official podcast of JetNation.com, the largest independent fan site in the NFL. Be sure to check out our forums and talk all things Jets with thousands of other diehard Jets fans. Now, to get you up to date on all the latest Jets news, notes, and quotes, here are your hosts, Glenn Naughton and Alex Varallo.
Good evening, Jets fans. I am Glenn Naughton. This is JetNation Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in for what will be an eventful show. Alex Varallo he's gonna be on IR for a couple weeks. His health is good, but he's got a couple things he's got to take care of. Some major changes in his work schedule, so he's gonna try to work through that and get to where he can get back with us in a couple weeks. But in the meantime, we are very happy to have Dylan Tereman with us. Staff writer with JetNation.com. He's done the show a couple times. Dylan, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. Excited to be back on again so soon.
Yeah, it's. I'll tell you what, man. It's absolutely. And I'll have to ask you to pardon me. Deal with me. I'm sure I'm 100% fine. I'm sure I don't have COVID, but I am awaiting test results because I've been coughing like a maniac. And I'm over here in the UK where the cases have like quadrupled in the last few weeks. So I probably wouldn't have gotten the test if not for the fact that everyone I work with was staring at me every time I cough, telling me to get tested. So anyway, if I'm coughing like crazy, yeah. I'll try to mute it. We'll go from there. But listen, on to more important things. What a disaster! What an absolute friggin' disaster! I've been a fan of this team for far too long. I think I'm on 33 years now. I've been watching this team. This is as bad as it gets. We're going to talk later about Kotite versus Gase. It's closer than you think. But right off the bat, Le'Veon Bell, released by the Jets. They take the massive cap hit. They tried to trade him, could not get anything in return. So Adam Gase, the brilliant, the man who is taking us where football is going, took an all-pro player with a Hall of Fame trajectory, and in 18 months he made him worthless. Le'Veon Bell's not 37 years old. That'd be Frank Gore. Then maybe Adam Gase would have some use for him. Le'Veon Bell, even if he's not the Le'Veon Bell of old, he is still a very good, very capable football player, and I promise you, we will see that wherever he lands next. Probably going to be with a contender. He'll probably sign with the Chiefs. He might go to the Patriots. I just saw something. He works at Miami, maybe the Dolphins, so maybe not a contender there. But, who knows how long till they are. But the bottom line is Le'Veon Bell is much better than what we've seen of him under Adam Gase. But because Adam Gase is Adam Gase, nobody in the league would touch Le'Veon Bell, because he came with too big of a risk, that risk being an $8 million injury guarantee. So if you trade for Le'Veon Bell and he pops an ankle or pops a knee and he's going to miss the season, he's guaranteed $8 million next, and you got to keep him. So teams looked at him and went, this guy's not good enough to take that risk. All-pro, Hall of Fame trajectory running back 18 months ago, and teams aren't willing to take any risk on him because he looks absolutely worthless in Adam Gase's offense. Because this is what Adam Gase does to people, folks. This is how people perform in Adam Gase's offense. So it was another blowout loss. I honestly, Dylan, I said to you earlier when I was prepping for the show, I actually forgot that there was a football game to talk about. It's almost as if I've forgotten about the 20-point blowout, another double-digit loss, 6 losses by 20 points or more since they hired Adam Gase, more than any head coach in the NFL. Genius. 20-point loss after the game. This may be Adam Gase at his absolute maniacal best. Some of the answers he gave in that press conference were mind-boggling. I'm talking,
to say the least.
I couldn't see it, but in my mind, he had the crazy eyes going while he was saying this stuff, because that's how out of left field these answers were. Let's go over a few of these things, Dylan. LaMichael Perrin, 0 carries in a 20-point loss, while Frank Gore continues to get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 carries a week. 37-year-old, 3.3 yards a carry Frank Gore for an 0-5 team going nowhere. And the kid is on the bench, can't get a damn carry. What does Adam Gase say after the game? Coach Gase, why didn't you give LaMichael Perrin some carries? We don't want to put too much on his plate. Too much on his plate. An NFL running back, rookie or not, NFL running back. They didn't sign him 2 days ago. He didn't just show up. I don't care that there wasn't a training camp. It's week 5. He's had a month, 5 weeks of active NFL practices. He had a month of training camp prior to that. Preseason games or not, he had practices a month worth. And he had however much time to study his playbook in the months since they drafted him. He has been in this system, on this team, with a playbook in his hands for 4, 5, 6 months. And they don't want to give him a carry because it may overwhelm him. As a rookie with the New England Patriots. Go ahead, Dylan.
No, I'm just saying it's inexcusable. I happen to be having NFL Network on in the background. Fantasy Live just noted that LaMichael Perrin has seen 12% of the snaps this season. And I'm not sure if that accounts for what little special teams he has, but
right,
that's just sad. And I tweeted it out before this show. I was looking at Miami and their roster and whatnot, and they have Myles Gaskin, who was drafted in the 7th round, and he's played over 200 snaps already for them, and I'm not exactly sure what the production breaks down to with him, but to see the field 5 times more than Perrin at this rate, who was drafted 3 rounds earlier, is just, the only word I can think of is inexcusable.
Jets Hall of Fame running back Curtis Martin, as a rookie with the Patriots under Hall of Fame coach Bill Parcells, had 368 carries. Boy, really stunted his growth, didn't it? Curtis Martin was never the same after that rookie year, after Bill Parcells had him carry the ball nearly 400 times. Adam Gase
running backs are built different.
It's ridiculous. Damian, if you're not following, listen, if you're a Jets fan on Twitter, there's no reason you shouldn't be following Damian Woody. But if you're not following Damian Woody, follow Damian Woody. The guy has been nailing this every step of the way. He laughed at Adam Gase. Everyone knows it, but Damian Woody said it's literally the easiest position in the NFL to transition from college to the pros running back. Take the ball, hit the hole, go. That's it. Yep. Adam Gase's rookie running back needs 8 months to get ready for a game because he's a genius. And he's the future of the NFL. And then to top it all off, 24 hours, 36 hours, whatever it's been, since Adam Gase told us he didn't want to overwhelm LaMichael Perrin, didn't want to put too much on his plate, they released Le'Veon Bell, and now all of a sudden, it's critical that we get him some carries. Got to get him some carries.
Yep.
2 days ago, it was overwhelming.
Quickly.
2 days ago, he couldn't handle a couple carries. Today, gotta get carries. It's critical. Can't not do it. He's just making it up as he goes along because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Then, staying on the topic of running backs, the Jets faced a situation in this game where it was 2nd down and 26. 2nd and 26. What does Adam Gase do? Frank Gore up the middle. Frank 3.3 yards a carry, Gore up the middle. And I love Frank Gore. The person, the player, great guy, Hall of Famer, first ballot, put him in.
He was always fun to watch.
Well-deserved, great guy, great teammate. Doesn't belong on this team. Serves no purpose on this team. Don't give me this mentoring a running back. They can't bring in a quarterback's coach to help the QB, but they need a running back mentor? Give me a damn break. So Frank, 3.3 yards to carry Gore, gets a handoff up the middle on 2nd down and 26. And Adam Gase's rationale is, I wanted to get to 3rd and 10. So you were banking on a 16-yard run from a guy who's averaging 3 yards a carry.
That hasn't seen a 16-yard run since probably 5 years ago.
It's unbelievable.
He doesn't have it left in him. That's just silly.
You hear Adam Gase say it. Some of his apologists say it. Oh, if the players would just execute. If the players would execute. Listen, if the players would execute, you could run a QB draw on every single play and score 100 points. If everyone blocks their guy exactly how they're supposed to and drives them into the ground, yeah, sure. Any play works.
Exactly.
But for God's sake, there's probabilities. What's
if his players
likelihood
executed,
of it
he probably never would have been fired out of Miami if his players executed for him.
Yeah, and his players don't execute everywhere he goes. But it's always on them. But listen,
I just did a quick search on Pirine, just snap usage on Pirine. There are 8 rookie running backs that have more snaps than him. And I don't know exactly where all of them were. I don't know exactly where all of them were drafted, but I know James Robinson was drafted after him. Antonio Gibson was drafted roughly around where he was, and he didn't even play running back in college. He did a little bit, but that wasn't his main position. So I have no other word but inexcusable at this point. And unfortunately, as much as Jets fans hated Le'Veon getting released, I think they're going to hate it even more when the Pirine snap usage doesn't magically increase. I mean, they had 3 weeks to showcase him while Bell was on IR, and they just refused. I don't know what they expect from Pirine. They're going to put him in from 0 to 100, and I don't think that's the way to succeed with him. But at the same time, give him 70% of the snaps this game and see what happens. I mean, what do we have to lose? I don't think that literally nothing to lose. I know it won't happen, but I think he'll get 5 carries, 6 carries. Yeah, I think Gore will get 70. Josh Adams will have plays. Who knows? Ty Johnson might have plays. I think all 4 running backs will see the field. It's and please don't put him at kick return. Figure that out too. I don't know why all of a sudden we went from Josh Malone to Ashton Davis to LaMichael Pirine. We don't have a kick returner. That's silly.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. By the way, Kristian Dyer of Sports Illustrated is going to be joining us in a little while as well. So we'll talk about some of the stuff with him. But what I wanted to cover next, Dylan, and really, it really surprises me that this hasn't been a bigger story, and maybe I'm making too much of it. But we keep hearing people talk about the power structure at One Jets Drive, that Gase and Joe Douglas are on equal footing, and they answer to Christopher Johnson. That's fine. Christopher Johnson's, the team owner. I get it, but you don't want Christopher Johnson getting involved heavily in the football decisions. Certainly inform him, tell him why you're doing what you're doing, so he understands. So that if you say we expect this to happen and the opposite happens, at least then he knows. Well, you don't know what the hell you're doing there, coach. But the interesting thing, and I wondered if this was Adam Gase kind of letting the media know. Again, they didn't pick up on it. Not much was said. Letting the media know that he's having to answer to other people aside from Christopher Johnson, which is absolutely insane. But what Adam Gase said after the game, he was asked about the potential return of Sam Darnold. And he said, that's something that's being worked out between myself, Joe Douglas, Chris Johnson, and team president Jaime Elhai. What are Adam Gase and Joe Douglas answering to the team president whose primary role is business operations. He's not a football guy.
Yeah, not football operations. Yeah.
No, not football, like business operations.
Yeah.
Corporate stuff, community relations, ticketing, security, marketing. That's his job. And he is attending a meeting to discuss when the quarterback will be back on the field. And who the hell is in charge? Listen, Joe Douglas, you can tell me Joe Douglas is his own man and he's the GM. And to be fair, there's two possibilities here. One thing I know, that I hope, is that Joe Douglas is making some of the moves he's making at the request of Adam Gase for being able to say at the end of the season, if things don't work out, well, we know things aren't going to work out. But he doesn't want Adam Gase to be able to say, hey, man, I asked you for this and you didn't get it for me. And granted,
right.
there haven't been any blockbusters to Adam Gase's benefit. But you went out, you traded for Demaryius Thomas last year, a former Gase guy. You traded for Kalen Ballage, and then the trade gets shut down because he fails a physical. And then you go out and sign Kalen Ballage. Kalen Ballage is a guy that Adam Gase drafted. Sorry?
I'm sorry. Yeah, he fails the physical, and you still want to bring him in. That's
yeah, exactly. So you bring him in at Adam Gase's request. Adam Gase drafted the guy, and he played for Gase in Miami. You're not going to sit here and tell me this was a Joe Douglas move. This was now. Is this Adam Gase going to the higher ups? Is he going to Jaime Elhai? Is he going to Christopher Johnson and saying, "Listen, man, I drafted this guy, really like him. Let Joe know that we need to get him"? Or is he just going to Joe and saying, "Look, Joe, sign Kalen Ballage. I can really do something with him. 2 weeks he's cut because he almost gets the quarterback killed. Because by the way, he doesn't know how to block."
Mm-hmm.
How would Adam Gase possibly know that a guy he drafted and coached for a year doesn't know how to block? But apparently he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But
he had another gunner as well, so that tells you how much he trusted him in his team.
And you can tell me that these moves are being made. Joe Douglas is making these moves on his own. I'm not buying it, but I want to know who's making the big calls. If the team president and the team owner have to get in on a meeting to make football decisions, I don't know that another team does that. I mean, listen, I don't follow other teams closely enough to know, but I'm sure I've never heard Mike Tomlin is going to sit down with Rooney and their marketing guy to decide when Ben Roethlisberger gets back on the field. And if and listen, Jaime Elhai's been with the organization for a million years. The team loves him. That's fine. I'm sure he's amazing at his job. There's no reason to criticize what the guy does.
Right.
But I'm criticizing the organization
trust him for what he does.
For thinking, and I'm sure if the organization would call to the mat on it, they'd say, "Oh, he's just there for this. He's just there for that." Listen, it's a discussion about when the quarterback comes back to play, and the guy's there. And you can tell me he doesn't have anything to do with it. But as I said earlier when we spoke before the show, Dylan, if you had a business meeting to go to, and the person you're going with says, "Oh, I want to bring my gardener. My gardener is going to sit with me during the meeting," you'd be like, "Why?" "Oh, he's just there. He's not going to say anything. It's not important, but he's going to be there." You'd be like, "What are you talking about? Like, this person is not involved in this situation." "Oh, but I just want him there." There's a reason. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the reason why your marketing guy is in on football decisions. If this is correct, this could be completely untrue. And I know Adam Gase has lied about some things in the past, but this would be a super weird lie to tell the media that him and Joe Douglas and Chris Johnson and Jaime Elhai are sitting down to decide when Sam Darnold gets back out on the field. It just absolutely defies logic. And who's in charge? At what level? And if you read Jaime Elhai's bio on the team website, it says that he's there to provide support and guidance in helping Joe Douglas and Adam Gase with their responsibilities.
Oh, jeez.
Now That can be just a thing you put on a resume to make a guy sound good.
It's very vague.
I get that.
You're right.
But if he's in these meetings helping make these decisions, then what the hell is going on? I don't know, man.
You almost have a case of too many generals, not enough soldiers when it comes to the front office of the Jets. I mean, that's now a fourth voice, fourth input, a fourth set of ears that's listening, observing, trying to meddle with the football operations of the team. And it's almost like addition by subtraction. The less noise in the room, the more person with the power can actually focus. And I mean, right now I believe it's Joe Douglas that should hold the power. I don't know any other organizations that have a structure kind of like the Jets where the GM and the coach aren't in lockstep. I mean, you don't see the Chiefs, you don't see Brett Veach and Andy Reid making moves that they don't both sign off on. It's a weird structure I never quite understood, but the Jaime thing just adds a whole new dimension of distrust possibly, or is he there to evaluate Joe Douglas for the future? But yeah, too many generals, not enough soldiers.
And I don't know if it's still the case, but as far as the structure goes and, how it works or doesn't work, when the Jets started it, I know that the Falcons and Dolphins had the same setup, and I remember reading that more teams were sort of looking into it. I don't get it. Have somebody be in charge. Maybe it's just the owners wanting to have more authority, like not wanting anyone below them to feel like they have authority.
Right.
I don't know.
It's actually weird you mentioned the Falcons there because they just fired Dimitroff and Dan Quinn, their GM and head coach. And then owner Arthur Blank comes out and makes a statement about the future of Matt Ryan, and it's like, all right, well, are you going to let your new regime decide that, or are you going to come out and decide that yourself? Or so yeah, that's a weird scenario for them as well. So that makes sense that it might be just an owner thing where they want the power because they want to maybe feel like they had a hand in turning it around, or they just can't stay away.
At first it made sense because if you remember the feud, the dueling personalities between Rex and Idzik, and that's when they adopted it. Mm-hmm. And it was supposedly like Woody was so tired of the bickering that when he fired them, or when he brought Idzik on, it was going to be a joint thing. No one was over anyone. No one had the power. Give someone the damn power. Give Joe Douglas the power. Joe Douglas is the guy with a 6-year deal who is still an unknown. We know Adam Gase is atrocious.
Exactly.
This is not a question anymore. Joe Douglas got a 6-year deal. Adam Gase should be gone after this year. And Joe Douglas, here's the problem with Joe Douglas. Here's the biggest problem with Joe Douglas at the moment. And it's not even, if we're going to be honest, it's not even a Joe Douglas problem. All of his draft picks are hurt. That's where you make your bones as a GM.
It looks like it's all his fault, but it's not. We don't know what goes on at these practices. I mean, Denzel got hurt running on air. That's not Joe Douglas's fault. I remember when I tweeted out that snap count usage of the rookie class, it was awful. I mean, there was multiple zeros, and I said to blame Gase. I mean, I don't know if this is a practice thing or strength and conditioning thing, but I think that it's not Joe Douglas's fault that his rookies aren't on the field. And I think when you look at the draft class heading into the season, we had a handful of picks that could have contributed in the short term as well as the long term. We're still waiting to see on multiple of them, but I think that the draft class will end up looking better than their production says it is right now.
Yeah, it really just, I mean, the number of guys who can't get on the field. I mean, Morgan's not going to play. FIU guy, project, even with the quarterbacks being hurt, you have Mike White, you have Joe Flacco. You don't expect Morgan to play. But Cameron Clark's back at practice, which is great news. He's back now.
Very good news.
Haven't heard anything on Jabari Zuniga. Ashton Davis played last week, but he's been dinged up. As you said, Denzel Mims literally had one practice under his belt. Mekhi Becton, why I didn't hear anyone today. I haven't heard anyone at all press Gase on Give me the best and worst case scenario on Mekhi Becton. Is there a chance he'll be back in 2 weeks? And is there a chance he'll be out the rest of the season?
Yeah, they seem to be completely ignoring it with their questions. So it's almost like it's letting him off the hook. If I was asking him questions, that'd be the first thing on my mind, because he was our first pick. He was the one that everybody was like, "Yep, this is our guy. We're gonna build the offensive line around him." And then you go and do this a quarter of the way into the season and throw him out there injured. I don't know. It's silly that again, nobody's asking him.
Future Hall of Fame tackle. The night Becton got hurt. And this is exactly where I was and where most people were, but just for some more credibility, future Hall of Fame tackle Joe Thomas, he tweeted out. He said, "I never understand doing this. If a guy can play, he starts. If he's not starting, he can't play. If he can't play, you don't make him active. Yep. You don't make him active. You sit him, but you start the guy. We're only going to start him if it's an emergency. Well, if he can play, or we're going to play him if it's an emergency. If he can play, start him. If he's too hurt to start, he's too hurt to play. So what happens? You put him in there injured, and he re-injures the shoulder. And, Gase after the game, most certainly trying to cover himself. It's just a pain tolerance thing. It's a little bit sore. Just going to be how much pain he can tolerate. And then a few days later,
how much strength he can get back.
Yeah.
Sorry, go. Keep going.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And then it becomes, now he's hurt. It's no longer pain tolerance or strength. He's hurt. But you look up.
Just like Denzel, similar sequence of statements and events where it was a minor thing, and we expect him back here. Oh, he'll be back after this week. They had that scrimmage, and Denzel was supposed to come back. Yep, and then all of a sudden, it looks a little bit worse than we thought with Mims, and we don't know when he'll be back. And then they IR him a week after the.
And as I've said a couple times this offseason, or this season, like the only move Adam Gase made after the disaster that was last year, his one move to shake things up was to fire the head trainer. And the injuries are way worse since they got rid of the head trainer.
Who's been here a lot. He's been here for a while, right? He wasn't just...
I think he's been around since the Mangini days. They fire him, and they replace him with the guy that he trained. So you're not good enough. We're going to bring in the guy that you taught how to do the job. And then the injuries get worse. Denzel Mims, he'll be back soon.
Looks like a cover-up.
He'll be back soon. Becton,
pain
tolerance, he'll be back soon. Everyone's going to be back soon. Nobody's on the damn field. Absolute disaster. You know what's not an absolute disaster? Kristian Dyer of Sports Illustrated, who is joining us live now. Kristian, how you doing?
Good, guys. How are you? Well, it sounds like my marriage vows. Well, at least I'm not an absolute disaster, honey.
Yeah. Listen, it's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, so I thought I would impart that on you, Kristian. But
I appreciate it.
Anytime. But, Kristian, the Lev Bell situation, your thoughts. I'm not even – just everyone's kind of throwing out there what they think of this. Whose fault is it? How could it have gone better? Why wasn't it everyone knows Gase didn't want him, yada, yada, yada. What are your thoughts on the Bell situation and how it all unfolded?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be a Jets issue if there weren't more than one set of hands in the cookie jar, right? I think this is a situation where you probably have multiple levels of blame, and I think you start first and foremost with Mike McCagney, going all in on the player, and Le'Veon Bell, who, listen, I think if you put Le'Veon Bell on probably half the teams in the league, we're talking about a Pro Bowl caliber running back. This is a guy who, with 13 touches behind one of the worst offensive lines in the league on Sunday, had 60 rushing yards. Week one had 2 receptions for 32 yards. You give him a decent number of touches, 18 to 20 touches in a game, and you're talking about 100 total, all-purpose yards behind a relatively weak offensive line. But he's a luxury item, and when the Jets signed him last year, the roster that they had, because of salary cap issues, because of the perpetual rebuild that they've been in, that team was kind of still shopping at the thrift stores, if you will. and all of a sudden you're getting a Gucci handbag to go along with your Marshalls and TJ Maxx ensemble. And can you tell I'm a married man by some of these things I'm dropping? All of a sudden you've got a real mismatched marriage, and Le'Veon Bell is certainly a luxury item. He's twice an All-Pro in his first 5 years in the league, 3 times a Pro Bowl selection. What he does with the ball in his hands is absolutely phenomenal. The Jets were not geared up to maximize his skill set. Mike McCagney knew that. That's money that could have been used on certainly probably a number of other needs, in particular an offensive line that had been neglected essentially since, for probably about the past 5 or 6 years before that signing. And at the end of the day, this also has the stamp of Woody and Christopher Johnson on it, who both like star players. They found a player who is willing to come at the right price. Le'Veon Bell is someone who can sell jerseys, who can create some excitement. There was an awful lot of excitement at training camp last year when Le'Veon Bell was walking around and walking in and off the field, and fans wanted to be a part of that. And I think that's very appealing to the Johnsons in the New York market, to have somebody who, can grab some headlines and hopefully be a superstar and sell tickets and PSLs. And, I think it also then falls on both Joe Douglas and Adam Gase as well. I mean, neither one was able to really maximize him. You've got somebody who is probably one of the best in his position. I mean, ESPN survey that they did of management and front office and personnel types, including scouts and GMs and directors of personnel, had him as the number 10 running back in the NFL. And that's considering what he played behind last year. That really wasn't an offensive line. It was more offensive than it was an offensive line. And there isn't a scheme or certainly the roster on the talent, again, to be able to maximize what Bell brings to the table. Did Bell contribute to this? You probably look at some of the head coach's comments today, and you can't help but think that, he was a little bit muted in terms of any kind of endorsement of Bell. Adam Gase said that he wishes Bell the best, and he'll undoubtedly sign somewhere in the league. No harm, no foul. It just didn't work out. But there wasn't really overwhelming praise for what Bell brought on or off the field. And that may well be a head coach who's looking to consolidate the narratives and really, maybe point fingers at a player and say, he's the issue, but also that you didn't really get the sense that this was a very difficult decision for the Jets to do, even though it included eating up an awful lot of money.
And it's bizarre, Kristian. It takes a special person. It takes a special person, as I said at the top of the show, to take an all-pro player and make him completely worthless within 18 months to where nobody wanted to touch him. Absolutely unbelievable. Adam Gase today asked about his inability to utilize Bell, which he views as being irrelevant. I would disagree with that. I think the fact that you can't play to a guy's skill set and can't play to his strengths kind of says more about the coach. But enough of that, Kristian. What are you hearing? I don't know if I've missed it. I feel like either the press, for some reason, is giving Gase a pass, or he is being very coy and no one's pressing him. What's the status of Mekhi Becton?
Yeah, Mekhi Becton was out on Wednesday. He may not practice tomorrow. They're going to wait and see exactly how everything works out with his shoulder and pain tolerance. There's a chance he may practice at some point later this week. I would say that if you don't practice on Wednesday, we've kind of seen with Gase that he's a little hesitant then to put you in on Thursday. I've been told from people I've spoken with close to the organization that if Becton didn't go back into that game, the Thursday night game, the Week 4 game against the Broncos, didn't try to gut it out, play those 17 snaps, that he'd be significantly further along in the healing process right now. So,
fantastic.
I'm going to guess. Well, I think you have to give it to Becton that he's a gamer. He wanted to push through it. This is imperfect science on the sidelines, and I think you got to take sometimes. It's difficult when a rookie says, "I can play, I can push through," and there's no signs of anything necessarily being long-term injury. You kind of have to leave it up to the rookie, I guess, to learn from it. But this shouldn't be something that's going to be a long-term struggle. My guess is going to be, if I had to put money on it, that Mekhi Becton will not be playing on Sunday. So that means that you should probably put money on it that he will be playing.
Yeah, I would actually agree with you, Kristian. I think he's going to miss more time. I think the Jets, and I said this, I don't know if you caught it, Kristian, Joe Thomas, the former Browns left tackle, kind of said during the game, if a guy can't start, the guy can't play. Like, he shouldn't be active. He's either healthy enough to play or he's not. Adam Gase did what Adam Gase does. So now Becton's going to be out for a little longer than he should be, but kind of par for the course this season. But the big question I want to ask before you go, Kristian, because this is the next topic I was going to tackle with Dylan here. Things are a disaster. This team is looking like an 0-16 team. They just got rid of their best running back. Joe Douglas may have some more moves up his sleeve. There's clearly not enough time to evaluate Sam Darnold. They're not going to pick up a fifth-year option. Is it time to try to shop Sam Darnold and just move on?
Well, I think it always comes down to what are you getting in return for Sam Darnold. And so it's not going to be a first-round pick. It's probably not going to be a day 2 pick. But is the belief that the Sam Darnold you saw over the final 8 games last year, including some impressive performances against the Raiders and against the Steelers, is that going to be enough to waylay and kind of overlook what we've seen this year? And I mean, the Jets' issues have been multiple. We know that the offensive line, the lack of preseason games. Listen, it would have been next to impossible for this offensive line to gel during the course of 4 preseason games and be ready for week 1. You do it now in this scenario. That certainly doesn't help Darnold. He hasn't had targets, and he has a head coach who may not be helping his development. Do you believe that Sam Darnold now heading into year number 4 of a rookie contract as the number 3 overall pick is going to be substantially better than, let's say, Trevor Lawrence, who if he's there at number 1, is going to be on a rookie contract? It's a very tough and a very difficult argument because I think everyone wants to see Sam Darnold succeed. And I think everyone believes that Sam Darnold can be a starting quarterback in this league. Is he a top 5 quarterback? No. Is he a top 10 quarterback? No. Is he top 15? Probably not. But in this league, an awful lot of quarterbacks have managed games, have won games, have done a good enough job and gotten their teams into the playoffs, into Super Bowls. And I think the guy who's starting week 6 is kind of what you're looking at in terms of career trajectory and upside for Sam Darnold if he's healthy. Joe Flacco's made a career of being solid, steady, and doing a good enough job to let the components in and around him succeed. And I think that's the brilliance of Joe Flacco. And I think that's probably what if everything broke the right way, Sam Darnold could grow and develop into. So it'd be very tough for me to say that this is, this is the time now to cut ties with Sam Darnold. But if the Jets are convinced that they can save money on the cap, Darnold's 4th-year number versus Trevor Lawrence's number 1 pick, 1st-year number, and quite frankly, what are the other factors that come into play here? We're probably talking about a brand new head coach in 2021 for the Jets in all likelihood. I don't know how Adam Gase, barring, closing out the season going 500, is going to be able to sustain this thing going into 2021. Is a new head coach going to be as tied to Sam Darnold? What's Darnold's mentality in all of this? What are you possibly getting in return for Darnold? And also, I think that there's an awfully big component here that, and we mentioned it before with Woody and Christopher Johnson, again, needing superstars in New York, recognizing that superstars create buzz. A winning team is great, but a winning team with superstars is even better in New York. And Trevor Lawrence would certainly ratchet up the anticipation level. I think in many ways it would trump what the New York Giants did with Daniel Jones, and they're taking someone number 1 overall and this hyped, the most polished college quarterback to come out since Andrew Luck. That would certainly, I think, resonate with the fan base, and it would also probably buy Joe Douglas some time too, which Joe Douglas wants to make a winner, but Joe Douglas also wants to keep this job and stay employed and kind of starting to rebuild all over again in what is really, I think officially his 2nd full year with the Jets next year. I think that might also be appealing to Joe Douglas as well, having a rookie quarterback, because you can't necessarily judge him if if you got a rookie quarterback. So that punts on some of those decisions as well.
All right, Kristian Dyer, Sports Illustrated. Thanks so much for joining us, Kristian. Appreciate it as always.
No, take care, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Take care. All right. So, Dylan, as you heard, that was Kristian's 2 cents on what the Jets should do with Sam Darnold. Give me your thoughts. Is it time to shop Darnold? Do you hang on to him? If so, why? Why not? What are you thinking?
So, kind of like what he said, I think if it happens, it probably will be for the better as far as from his standpoint. Maybe for the Jets, as far as helping them secure the number 1 pick, it would be the preferred route by the front office. But if it's my decision, I would say just play him when he's healthy, see what he can do. Not only throw the draft pick out the window, whatever he returns, the difference in his play between now and the rest of the season, what that draft difference would be, a 4th to a 2nd round pick maybe. I think you play him for the sake of evaluating the rest of the talent on the offense, because Joe Flacco will not give you a true sense of what this offense could look like with a young upside quarterback. So I think the Jets may end up doing it, depending on how quickly he can get healthy, or if he could play 1 game before the trade deadline, and maybe they shop him, similar to Bell. I don't know. It's hard to say at this point, but listening to his press conference today, he sounded very disheartened. He was answering the questions, but that's really it. He was, he just
going through emotions.
Like he was very over it. Like he knew the time was coming to an end, whether it was for Gase and him or for him. It just looked like he was very out of it. But again, with the trading of Darnold, I'd also think, I'm not sure if this is, I need clarification, but if they trade him, another team has to pick up his 5th-year option without seeing a practice out of him, or they have to restructure a deal or something along those lines. So I think from a contract standpoint as well, it makes it very hard to move Sam Darnold now and in the future, especially if we do draft Lawrence and then we trade Darnold. They know that we aren't taking much because we have a quarterback. It just makes the situation very, very difficult. But
I think what it'll take if you're going to trade him, there's going to have to be a team that had him very highly rated pre-draft that understands Adam Gase is an idiot and that this isn't Sam Darnold's fault. And you get people in this league. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, but kind of ego-driven. Like, oh man, I can be the guy to make that kid a top 5 quarterback after looking like garbage for Adam Gase, which is probably what'll happen.
The QB savior. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it should because he has the potential. We've always seen the potential.
And that's what I mean. No one's going to make that move if they think the guy's terrible. Like, if they don't think the guy can play, then I can trade for him. But if you get a GM who says, oh, man, the year Darnold came out, we had him number 1 on our board, but we were picking 27th, or we didn't need a quarterback. But, man, if there's still some of that kid in there, let's trade. He's still young. He's still, 22, 23, still a young kid. If we can get him and turn things around. Listen, you need to look no further than Ryan Tannehill. Okay? He's an older guy. Older than Darnold, more years in the league, was infected with Adam Gase, and last night he carved up the Buffalo Bills for 42 points with Derrick Henry carries Ryan Tannehill 3 yards of carry for Derrick Henry last night, and Ryan Tannehill throws 3 touchdown passes, 42 points. And people ignore the fact that Derrick Henry's production increased when Ryan Tannehill came in to play quarterback last year for the Tennessee Titans. His numbers improved when Tannehill came in. Yep. So don't tell me Tannehill can't play. He's playing better than he's ever played in his life. He had a good year with Gase. Don't get me wrong. He had a good year. Congratulations. But all in all, Ryan Tannehill, look, like I said, look no further than Tannehill and the guys who played under Gase who are doing great now, who were terrible under him.
And we'll see it on Sunday. I think Devontae Parker, I believe Mike Gesicki was there when he was there.
Yep.
So, all these,
he drafted
all
Gesicki,
these players,
didn't have any time
we'll
for him.
see right there.
Yep.
Right in front of us.
And you know what else you won't have to look any further? If you're looking for someone to run your social media platforms for your business, look no further than Miles Social. Miles Social is the official sponsor of JetNation Radio. You can check them out on milesocial.com. That's M-I-L-E Social, milesocial.com. Whether it's your Twitter, your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it may be, too many social media platforms to manage. You got other things going on with your business, call Miles Social. They'll take care of it for you. Or visit them online, M-I-L-E Social, milesocial.com. So, yeah, my opinion, Dylan, with the Sam Darnold thing is that barring the greatest miracle of miracles on the football field, he's not going to have the time this year. He's injured. He might miss a couple more weeks. They already ruled him out this week. He might miss the following week. Is he going to be able to do enough?
And then the next week's the trade deadline.
Yeah. Is he going to be able to do enough in 8 games to alter the Jets' draft strategy? I mean, he would have to go out there and win 8 in a row and be lights out for them to say, okay, we don't have to draft Trevor Lawrence now. So the most likely scenario, if you don't trade him, is that he eventually gets healthy, he comes back, he plays somewhere between poor to slightly above average, and then the draft hits. Poor to slightly above average is not good enough to pass on Trevor Lawrence.
No.
Now, the one scenario that will not unfold because it would be too ideal would be that you draft Lawrence, you keep Darnold, you go into camp with both, Darnold lights it up early on, and you get some premium picks for him before the season starts. Or you let Darnold start the first few games, knowing that think back to San Diego. I don't know how old you are, Dylan, if you remember this. Chargers had Drew Brees. Drew Brees struggled for a few years, so they drafted Phillip Rivers, and then Drew Brees kind of turned it around, but then he got injured, so they didn't. That was a little bit different, but it could be similar in that you could have a guy on the bench who you think is better than a young quarterback you already have. Let that young quarterback in Sam Darnold go out there and play a few weeks, light up a couple defenses, and then you say, we need 2 1s for this guy. We need 3 1s for it, whatever. That's not going to happen because that would be perfect world scenario. That's just not going to unfold that way.
Patrick Mahomes didn't start until week 17 of his rookie season. They had Alex Smith, and I think they were 11-5 or 12-4 that year. So it's not a rush to put any new quarterback on the field if you have one that can, give you something, and then you can trade off. So
I see what you mean, and that does make sense if Darnold is playing well enough. It's just so rare nowadays that a top 5 quarterback doesn't get on the field by week 2 or 3.
They're almost declared starter before camp at this point.
Yeah, and even when they're not, even when they aren't. The only one I can think of that legitimately wasn't, was Baker Mayfield. And then Tyrod Taylor gets hurt and Baker Mayfield ends up starting anyway.
Thanks, Jen.
And then it happens this year. Somebody blows up Tyrod Taylor with a damn needle trying to.
Oh, yep, and then Justin Herbert.
And now you got to feel for Tyrod Taylor. Jesus Christ. What a tough break for him. It's nuts. But listen, Darnold, I love the guy. I want him to succeed here. I hope he comes back and plays just well enough to still get Gase fired, but to show that he can play. And because listen, I want Mekhi Becton and Penei Sewell blocking for Sam Darnold, protecting Sam Darnold for the next 15 years.
Oh yeah, in a dream scenario, absolutely.
Is that going to happen? Probably not. Most likely scenario, Darnold doesn't play well this year. Jets take Lawrence. Darnold leaves and wins 5 Super Bowls somewhere else, and Lawrence is a bust. That's the Jets' most likely scenario. But anyway, moving on to.
Go ahead.
I
had a question though regarding the draft. If the Jets land number 2 overall, say they happen to win 3 games this year, and I don't know, the Falcons or the Giants only win 2, or whatever the case may be. What do you think the team does? Because I think I know what you would do at number 2, but what do you think the team does at number 2? Do you think they try to trade up using Seattle's 1s and extra 3s, or do you think that they hold tight and take a Lance or Fields possibly.
I don't think they're in any position to give up any extra picks. I think Joe Douglas is going to look to add picks prior to the deadline. So I think you got to take Sewell in that spot, and you keep working with Darnold. I don't see, because they have 10 picks as it stands now. Joe Douglas needs about 45 picks. So,
three-man roster, 45 picks sounds about right.
yeah, roughly. Maybe 43. Maybe we're being harsh, but yeah, they need a lot of picks. And I would be really surprised if he's not working the phones right now trying to get, even if they're day 3 picks, if you're talking Jordan Jenkins somewhere for a 6 or a 7, he may not have any value. He's not doing anything this year. Nobody on defense is.
Well,
entire defense is a total wreck.
Me, speaking of all these trades and the trade deadline, that reminds me of the video I shared with you shortly before we went live from the Michael Kay show, where
go ahead and break that down.
Michael Kay asked Joe Douglas to come on his show, and I guess Joe Douglas declined the interview and said that he was going to wait till after the deadline. I guess that's the normal general manager routine of when they speak to the media, but he said flat out no, he's going to wait till the deadline in 3 weeks. So I assumed immediately that more things were coming down the pipe as far as trading off players for draft picks. So instead of answering questions for the next 3 weeks in a row, I guess he wants to make the moves and then discuss them all at once. So buckle up, I think, until the trade deadline, because this roster could look very different in a month from now.
I mean, it could be the case, but, like the biggest thing is there aren't many guys you can deal. We spoke briefly. You might get a pick for Poole. Yeah, you might get a pick for Poole. You might get a pick for Jenkins, but we're talking 6th, 7th rounders.
Nothing day 3, like later day 3. Yeah, nothing significant. And if you do move anything that's significant, you have to come out, and the first question will be, are you punting on the 2020 season? And he better have the correct response this time, and that is yes. We are absolutely punting on the season, because there's no other solution other than punt at this point.
No,
punting on third down. And, that's what we do. That's what this season is, a punt on third down.
Yeah, it really is. It's so bizarre at this point that I really this is and the comparison I said earlier, the Gase Kotite comparison. People can say all they like that Kotite was worse, and I see where they're coming from. But one of the things to me is, you look at the 1996 team that went 1-15 versus Adam Gase's team this year. Kotite averaged more points per game. His offense had one more touchdown. The margin of victory was lower. Kotite didn't get blown out as often. And Gase has lost 2 games by 20 points already. Kotite only lost 1 game by 20 points that year. And I understand Kotite's team had more talent, but my thing that kind of offsets that is that Adam Gase is playing in an era where the NFL is begging teams to score points. They are doing, and this year even more so. Fewer
it's
penalties.
Unprecedented the amount of
Just
offense
go.
this year.
Every game I look at, 30-28, 42-29. Like the Jets,
bet the over
30-10. Everyone is scoring points. Actually, I don't know who's behind the Jets. I think the Jets are 31st in points. It must be the Redskins or somebody. But either way.
Oh, wow.
Either way, that's
We're
why.
Moving up.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Gase, to me, it's a legitimate question. Some people just dismiss it out of hand. Oh, stop being silly. Kotite was terrible. 0-16, he had more talent than Gase. Okay. But Gase is 0-5. Did I say 0-16 for Kotite? 1-15. Anyway, Gase is 0-5. And by almost every statistical measure, worse than Kotite. Kotite had to play in an era where defensive backs were allowed to mug receivers at the line of scrimmage. You see receivers getting ragdolled off the snap. You don't do that anymore. Free releases, open releases all over the place.
Wasn't what it is now. Yeah.
Yeah. So Adam Gase, the situation that he's having to prepare under is far different than the one that Kotite did. Kotite had to be able to coach, and he couldn't. But neither can Gase. So at the very least, it's a wash. I mean, and you have to pile on the fact that Gase just he's got a couple different. Like sometimes I watch Adam Gase or I listen to him in a post-game presser. There's two different Adam Gases. When he walks off the field and just got his ass handed to him, he acts like it just kind of happened and he had no control over it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's always like, we were gonna do this, but it didn't happen.
The game plan got away from me.
We had a plan for that, but it just didn't unfold that way. Like, dude, you're calling the plays. Oh, we were gonna throw the ball. And listen, I'm not all out on Chris Herndon like a lot of people are. Chris Herndon, I think the guy's pressing. He knows he's going to get 2 or 3 targets a game. He should be getting 8, 9, 10 targets a game. He's going to get 2 or 3 targets a game. One of them is going to be beyond the line of scrimmage. The other one's going to be one's going to be a screen. One's going to be a swing behind. He knows in his mind, I'm going to get one damn chance to catch a football today beyond the line of scrimmage. And he's pressing.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's the next one liking tweets about his misuse in the coming weeks because, he's trying to do too much with the little touches that he's getting, and it's unfortunate to put a player of his potential in that situation.
Exactly. He's a name I meant to bring up as trade potential. If I'm an offensive coach, if I'm any coach, and I need a tight end, I'm going to be like, look, man, I've seen what Chris Herndon can do. Call the Jets, see if we can have him for a 6, and then let's throw him the ball 5, 6, 7 times a game down the field and let him make some plays.
Mm-hmm.
And let him not press so hard because he knows he's only going to get one damn shot to catch the ball, down the field. So I'm not out on Chris Herndon. A lot of people are. I don't care. I'm not putting.
I'm down
him.
on him, but I'm not out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So people want to give up on him. That's fine. But I would completely disagree. But the thing is, do you deal him? Do you keep him? He's one of the few guys that might be able to get you a pick. I would prefer to keep him. There aren't enough good players on this team to move guys along who can play a little bit. So it's a great big mess.
You have to help out a rookie quarterback if you bring him in. So, I mean, Herndon could be a player that really helps him. If it's Trevor Lawrence, he could really help him along. So I don't agree with moving the offensive weapons, but then again, I mean, anything I think is possible. Anybody could be up for trades. We heard Joe Douglas a few months ago say that the only untradeable person was Sam Darnold. So, at this point, anything's fair game.
It's crazy, but the Jets have the Dolphins this week. So Gase gets to play his former team in Miami. Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was the quarterback the last time it was fun to be a Jets fan. Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, Isaiah Ford. So, I mean, Gesicki, you just expect all of these guys to have a field day. It's not like Dylan. I write the game previews, the key matchups. There are no key matchups. Every single guy that lines up for the Jets is going to get his ass kicked by the guy across from him. That's it. Throw out random names. This guy, and this guy. They're going to be overmatched because they're going to be overmatched, with the exception of a couple of guys.
Exactly. I was looking at their roster before we started, and I wrote down Byron Jones versus ? And no matter whose name you fill in, it's not good. There's no recipe for success against this team, which is, again, embarrassing and inexcusable because this is a very beatable roster, and you could take advantage of some things here and there, but the way they're playing versus the way we're playing, it's going to be bad.
It is. It's going to be ugly. And guys who played for Gase aren't going to want to take their foot off the gas. And,
we're going to see a lot of showboating and a lot of possibly taunting and finger pointing.
And maybe some ugly extracurricular stuff late in the game.
Yeah, I could foresee another Fangio situation where Flores doesn't want to shake Gase's hand, and I mean, if 2 head coaches don't want to shake your hand after the game, that's saying something.
Wait, did it happen a second time?
No, I'm saying I could foresee it happening if it gets
sorry.
chippy and it gets ugly in this game. No. But if it did happen the second time, I mean, this is just one time is plenty. Second time, come on now. We're fooling ourselves.
And I got to say, I don't know what the game plan will be this week. That was one thing that jumped out at me. I didn't, you see it during the game, but until I watched the All-22, I didn't notice how often the Jets went with that 2D lineman, 2 outside linebacker look up front. And it was terrible. I mean, every play, the 2D linemen are getting doubled. The guys on the edge, they're just, Frankie Louvu.
They're not intimidating enough. The tackle just buries them in the turf, and that's it. Lays on them.
I mean, listen, this team doesn't generate pressure as it is. But this Sunday was, it was like a clinic.
They were going up against Kelvin Beachum.
Quarterback.
Kelvin Beachum was making them, was stonewalling them. It's like.
Yep. Yeah. I get that Greg Williams is trying to contain Kyler Murray in the pocket and get creative, but at some point you got to realize, like, okay, this is.
He wasn't running that much enough to, and I understand that might have been the contain aspect.
I was going to say that could be why, but
Kyler's going to run even if it's a designed pass play. So
it's just a matter of pick your poison. They were going to lose the game.
Yep.
They were going to give up 30 points, no matter what they did.
We didn't expect 400 air yards from Kyler Murray, but hey, that just goes to show the versatility of him and that offense, because he could rush for 100 plus and 2 touchdowns on the ground, or he could throw it for 400 yards. So I think that's
you had to feel for Lamar Jackson. I felt like he drew the short straw. It was I tweeted it out as soon as the game started. I said, this is reminiscent of Vance Joseph. Again, this may predate you there, Dylan. But many years ago, the Jets had an undrafted free agent corner, which made this kind of worse. He was actually, if I'm not mistaken, he was a college quarterback who the Jets took as an undrafted free agent, tried to make him a cornerback, and made his NFL debut on Monday Night Football against Hall of Fame receiver Tim Brown. And it went about as the way you would expect it. And it's Vance Joseph now. That's who it was. He was on the sidelines the other day as a coach for the Cardinals. And he made his NFL debut with the Jets as an undrafted corner against a Hall of Fame receiver.
Wow.
And so, but his was even worse because he wasn't a corner, and it was on Monday Night Football. At least Lamar Jackson is a corner and got to do it in the obscurity of a Sunday night full slate where nobody gives a damn about the Jets and nobody's watching. But yeah, I had that flashback immediately, and then I saw Rich Cimini and a few others tweeted that out a little later in the day. So it was ugly. I thought really the kid did all right, all things considered. And that's kind of where they're at. So I've always been a guy who says when you're out of it, play the kids. So really, they should have been playing the kids since week 2. Once you lost by 50, once you lost by 50 to San Francisco's third stringers, you knew the season was over. So that'll do it for us tonight, I think. Score prediction. Listen, every week I predict huge score, a 35-point loss. Dolphins 42, Jets 6. There's my prediction. Do you have a score prediction, Dylan?
I wrote down 37-9. That was my jolt reaction.
Yep. So we're in the same ballpark. This is the first time since 2016 that the Dolphins are favored by more than one score in a football game. So congratulations, Adam Gase.
First chance to win back-to-back games since 2015, I believe, as well. So a lot of milestones coming up against the Jets for the Dolphins.
Yep, and look for them to they can set some scoring records if they feel like it. And you know what? I wish Ryan Fitzpatrick well. I liked him while he was here. Nice guy, beat the odds. He's still around. Who would have thought a few years ago this guy would still be a starting quarterback?
Hey, maybe we'll see Tua. If he's healthy enough, maybe he'll come in garbage time. I don't know about that considering Jets late game antics, but
I wouldn't do that, and I
it's
don't
not
know
worth
if you saw
it.
that.
No,
I
you
tweeted
saw
earlier.
what Jeff Driscoll went through.
Yeah, I had this thought earlier, thinking about the Chiefs game. If I have a franchise quarterback and I'm playing the Jets, I'm going to sit that guy. I'm going to be like, listen, we could start our second, third quarterback.
Once or twice down the field,
if need be. We're still going to hang 31 on these guys. We saw it with the 49ers. playing their backup on, not like he even had any time to prep. Jimmy Garoppolo goes down. The second stringer comes in, mops the Jets, up and down the field, mops the floor with them. So yeah, if I'm Andy Reid, I'm gonna treat it like a preseason game. I'm gonna say, Pat, you're gonna play 2 series. You're gonna hand it off 6 times. You can throw it twice, and then you're coming out. And we're
really, gonna get 14-0. Yep, very simple.
And there's no reason if you're the Dolphins, you definitely wouldn't take any chances with Tua, because I will say this though, in defense of the Jets with the personal fouls, they're stupid, but to me the majority of them have been like stupid,
marginal,
but not harmful. Like
no
one's gonna get hurt because you push the guy. You know what I mean? Like they're not like lowering their helmets into the guy's back, or or drilling him under the chin. Like they're not knocking anyone out of a game. They're just being dumb, sloppy, falling on top of people. So this thing like, oh, the Jets are dirty. No, the Jets are stupid. They're not dirty.
And I thought the Quinnen Williams face mask or roughing the passer was more a case of him reaching in as the quarterback was ducking and grabbing the only thing he could. The late game ones, you can't really make an excuse just other than stupidity. But no, they weren't like, let's send this guy off on a stretcher type hit. I mean, Henry Anderson might have 1 or 2 that were a little ugly. But for the most part, he's a common one. These aren't malicious hits. When I see people saying the Jets just played dirty, look at all the personal fouls. And I think, look at them. Don't look at them written down on a sheet of paper. Go back and watch them happen. Exactly. Watch the play in live time, because I personally thought that the Sam Darnold, where Alexander Johnson swung him down and where he hurt his shoulder, I thought that
10 times worse than anything a Jets player did.
Take a flag or, possibly a fine after the game. And I understand maybe not the flag, but if you're going to hand out all those fines to the Jets, you might as well hand out one to Alexander Johnson, because that's in the rule book that you can't grab them by the waist and like spin them around or suplex them. Yeah. That's not a thing anymore.
It's not the WWE.
You're in the grasp. It's like he's not going to escape it. I understand he probably could have if you let him go early enough, but it's not. He had his feet off the ground and was swinging him around. Exactly.
He wasn't going anywhere. He was only going to go as far as the guy threw him. But anyway, that wraps it up for this week. Adam Gase is beyond moronic. I don't know if the Jets are just keeping him in place to guarantee 0-16 to get that number 1 pick. My greatest fear is that they don't fire him after this season, and maybe there's like a backdoor deal where, hey, Adam, we understand the talent's not there. Go ahead and lose all the games. We'll bring you back. I don't see that happening. Nobody's going to buy a damn ticket if they do that.
I pray that's not the case.
So we will see what happens. Dylan, thanks for filling in. And, join us for the next couple weeks. And then, we got to have you on regularly as a caller to come in and give some opinions, with the work you're doing for us. So it's much appreciated. And go ahead and give out your Twitter handle, Dylan, and I will log us off for the night.
Sure. Twitter handle is @DTereman. That's DTEREMAN @DTereman.
All right. Thanks so much, Dylan. And take care, Jets fans. We'll catch you next week. Have a great night.
All right.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Twitter @JetNation Radio. Glenn is @AceFan23 and Alex is @NYJetsLife24.
Until next time,
go Jets!